the Dodgers was up 2-0 against the Braves, right? And then they lost game 3. People say, oh, man, the Dodgers still got a shot. No, this Braves team understands that, yeah, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. But this Braves team understand how to go out there and, get some big wins. You got to jump on them early. And, Kevin, I think something the Braves showed yesterday, look, we play better with a cushion. We got a cushion, and obviously, that ninth inning, I mean, they kind of like, Rosario kind of sealed the deal. But I just think when you think about the way this Braves team plays, you always can depend on one of these hitters to come through. Now, if you expecting Rosario to look like that the rest of this series, good luck, whoever they play. Dodgers, Astros, Red Sox. But I just think that what I saw last night was a team that played with confidence, a team that's been here before. Newcomer saying, look, man, we're going to be able to show our worth because, look, you do all you got to do to make it to the show, and you prove your worth when you're in the show. Rosario proved his worth last night. And I just think that when you think about what it takes to win moving forward, a team like the Dodgers, you can leave no doubt. If they learn anything from game 3 is, listen, a 3-game lead with this team, a 3-run lead with this team, it's not safe. So you had to put some distance in between you and it, and then it makes those bats, kind of go cold when you talk about this Dodgers team. But I was just very, very impressed with the Braves. I did not watch it. And I'm not saying I'm jinxing to Kevin. No, I did not jinx anything. But
ain't no curses, Ben.
But I will say this: our text thread, BJ will scare me because BJ will say because I'm trying to get the mood of what BJ is saying, not exactly what. But I will say this, BJ. I know this is something that's going to be hard to do because of who the Braves are playing, but having this Braves team earn the benefit of the doubt in how they played in this postseason, not just what it took to get here.
Look, I absolutely, Kevin. Absolutely. Just because I'm still anxious doesn't mean the Braves haven't done a good job of changing whatever narratives were out there about, this team, can't win in the postseason or can't advance. They've been spectacular. You have a 2.57, Kevin, team ERA here in the playoffs. Eddie Rosario is the hottest baseball player on the planet. I mean, the way you've played has been inspiring, and I think this is a team that is in a great spot tonight, Kev.
Hey, I agree with Christian. When does anybody ever send a positive text in the game running text thread when these games are going on? It's never, man, what an inning. It was like, oh no, Drew Smiley's in there. He's pitch and batting practice out there. I mean, and that's true. Anytime anything goes bad, somebody will drop a note in there like, can you believe this? This is unbelievable. But no, I thought Drew Smiley last night, for as much as he made me nervous, he pitched all right for having him out there, right? I mean, for a guy that hasn't pitched all month, I think his last outing was October 1st or 2nd. He hadn't pitched all month, and you're going to stick him out there in a huge playoff game, and he gives you 4 innings. Yeah, he gave up a couple of runs, but he gives you 4 innings in a, quote, bullpen game, throwing slow pitch softball out there. And I mean, hey, he gave you what you needed, right? He went out there and got the job done. And I think going into tonight, if you're a Braves fan, look, I keep saying, ain't no curses, man. If you go out there and just play your game, you have Max Fried. My heart is overflowing. It's so full. I got Boobie Miles. I got Austin Riley. I got everybody in my heart right now. Look, Max Fried against a bullpen game, you feel good about. Luke Jackson, I say what you want. I feel okay about. Had a bad outing. He has pitched really, really well. And Will Smith, we all owe him an apology, right? I mean, we do. He has pitched really, really well, especially in the postseason for the Atlanta Braves. And say what you want about that. When you got Will Smith, yeah, you want him to close games in April, May, June, July, August. But you also paid him that big contract for this, so he could come in the postseason and lock games down. And so far, he's done that for you here in 2021. So with no Justin Turner, no Max Muncy, a bullpen game, you've got Max Fried. This is a great opportunity to go out and really stick it to the Dodgers and end this thing now tonight.
There's reason to believe that. And it's not just hope and optimism. I mean, Max Fried on the mound for you, a collection of relief pitchers, most likely on the mound for them. And you're talking about Atlanta having a momentum that doesn't just stem from the win yesterday, but the way the game ended. Atlanta scored 4 runs in the 9th inning. And I think some of that confidence at the plate, some of that conviction does carry over. I mean, you have an offense that had one of its best frames of the last month, the last time they were out there against LA. So I think you take the mound, you take the field with confidence. I don't know what the plan is for Dave Roberts. I mean, we were talking about it. You were breaking it down a little bit yesterday. Bullpen games are kind of interesting in that you sort of stand by and you have a plan, but you have to readjust on the fly depending upon how it goes. If Max Fried is anywhere close to what he has been, you feel like you have a major considerable advantage on the mound. And then offensively, the momentum you have to bounce back the way you did with seemingly the tone of the series going the other way. I'm extremely confident about tonight. And look, that worries me to a certain extent. But Ben, you're right there. You are one win away from the World Series. You have the Dodgers on their heels. You have your hottest pitcher going. They have uncertainties on the mound. We don't know who we're going to see or for how long. This is a great spot for Atlanta.
You feel that, BJ and Kev? You know what that's called? That's called pressure. But not from the Braves side, from the Dodgers side. Because we get it, right? The Braves are good for baseball. They're not good for the national ratings when you talk about who they would rather see, quote, in the World Series. We get that part. But the Dodgers, I go back to 2 games ago, and I'm just watching the Dodgers fans, and they living in time with every pitch, every swing, every inning. This Braves team they kept their poise. It could have went off the rails, and even though they had only lost 1 game going into game 4, but they didn't. They showed that, look, we have chemistry on this team. We understand that if our bats get hot, because the same way the Dodgers got hot, what happens when the Braves bats get hot? They didn't cool off, and they took it well into the 9th inning. That's what they learned in game 3 that we don't talk about the most. Hey, man, we got to keep the pressure on those guys every freaking inning. And definitely, the closer we get to the 8th and 9th inning. So I'm not calling nothing because I'm not in the business of calling things. I do agree with Kevin. There are no superstitions. I don't want to hear that there are no curses, no nothing. This, that, and the third. But Christian
says the guy that won't watch. He won't watch the Florida games.
Whoa. We need to keep these things on the wrap. We don't need everybody knowing kind of like what we've been doing. I might watch a game this year. I'm not going to tell y'all which one I watch. It's probably going to be the Sanford game. I might have to watch that one. And I'm just no. I just give this Braves team a lot of credit, man. The Dodgers are doing for the Braves what the Braves did for them a year ago. They are bringing out the best in them. They are saying, look, man, backs against the wall, even though we was up 2-1, bring out the best in them, but they got to get it done tonight. It is not over yet because we've seen this story before, Kevin. Hopefully it will not be deja vu.
Yeah, and I know we had some folks talking about, it'd be nice to clinch in the ATL. No, it'd be nice to clinch right now. Don't let a Dodgers team up off the mat at all, especially knowing that in game 6 and 7, there is no question about what the Dodgers are going to do. The Dodgers are going to pitch Max Scherzer and Walker Buehler. That's a heck of a way to finish if you're the Braves. You want to get it done tonight, take care of business, and just end it.
And I have seen some of those posts and have heard it. Hey, man, winning in Atlanta in Truist, that atmosphere. Nope, I'm with you 100%. Get it done tonight. Game 6, games, you don't even have to worry about it. Don't even have to think about it. You win tonight, Ben. When will Game 6 be played? That's in February, okay? Because you take care of business against the Dodgers and you start thinking about the World Series. I think you manage tonight. And listen, I don't know if your approach changes at all if you're Snitker, but I think you look at this as the deciding game. Go for it. It's a series where there's going to be an ebb and flow because both teams are so good. If you can take advantage when you're on the road of a team that's injured, that doesn't have a lot of momentum, that kind of fell apart yesterday, you absolutely do that and go for it tonight.
And again, we'll talk more about this game as we move ahead. Gaurav Vidoc, Talking Chop, going to join us coming up in just a little bit. We'll switch gears, also talk some football. George Reister of the Mad Dog Radio, Fox Sports TV, and radio host of Reister or Wrong, and former Jags tight end. He'll join us. We'll talk some NFL with him. Also, in the final hour of the show, Bill Shanks will join us of the Bill Shanks Show. We'll talk with him, and Roddy Jones, former Georgia Tech A-back, now with the ACC Network, will join us, and we will look at conference expansion, which continues to be all over the place in college football. So plenty to get to here on the show, but we're talking Braves when we come back with Gaurav Vidoc of Talking Chop here on 3 and Out. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Game number 5 coming up tonight, potentially a series-ending game if the Braves can come out on the right side tonight against the Dodgers. Braves will send Max Fried to the mound to take on the Dodgers. I haven't seen who the Dodgers are going to run out there, but it's expected to be kind of inconsequential as they're expected to pitch a bullpen game over the course of tonight's action. So we shall see what they try to do, but we have with us from Talking Chop, Gaurav Vidak joining us here on 3 and Out. Gaurav, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Super excited for tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the Braves, the way they came out last night, I know a lot of folks said, oh, you opened the door in game 3 for the Dodgers with their late inning heroics to come back. And it seemed like the Braves answered in resounding fashion last night, even as they went with their own bullpen game last night.
It was just an absolutely magical performance by the bullpen. You know, those were such huge innings from Drew Smyly. Yeah, he gave up a pair of earned runs. But to imagine getting 10 outs from him in an NLCS when he really hasn't pitched since, significant innings really since the regular season, it couldn't be better than that. And then AJ Minter came in and looked absolutely dominating. Everyone did their part. It was really a spectacular outing. And the mere fact that you're able to get early runs off of Julio Urias and heading into today, which was a known bullpen game, and with Max Scherzer, even his status being uncertain as well for Game 6, you're looking at potentially 3 straight bullpen games for the Dodgers. Last night was pretty beautiful, to say the least.
What does it say about the resiliency of this team that LA can have the finish they did in Game 3? It felt like the momentum was going back the Dodgers' way. Then in Game 4, Atlanta comes out and not only has a couple of runs early, like you mentioned, but really, once you look at the totality of the game, dominated things.
I can believe it. Jesse Chavez gave up the game-winning run the night before, and to come out and get Betts, Seager, and Turner to start off the game with absolutely no issues, that was huge just from him itself. Like you said, the team battled. They're resilient. They lost half of their team before. They replaced half of it during the season itself. They competed, won a division, and now they're on the mere cusp of the World Series if they're able to pick it up. It's been an incredible run, and it shows you just how well managed this team is. I think Snitker doesn't get enough praise for what he's done this season.
I know it's a different team, different year. I mean, same result right now, up 3-1. But how much better of a team do you think this Braves team is coming in with even more postseason experience against this Dodgers team?
It's the mere fact that they have the starting pitching that they have this year. Yeah, you're missing Ronald Acuna, which is a massive, massive hole. But the fact that you're able to trot out Charlie Morton, Ian Anderson, and tonight Max Fried is just a huge step up from last year. Absolutely no offense to Kyle Wright and Bryce Wilson, AJ Minter, who were absolutely fantastic in their starts against the Dodgers last year. But to go from that to Max Fried in a closeout game, that's significant. And you really can't put enough value on that.
Gaurav Vidak joining us here on 3 and Out. And you look at just the moves that have been made. Eddie Rosario was injured when the Braves got him at the trade deadline. They traded him for Pablo Sandoval, who was immediately cut once that trade was completed. They've gone out and got Jock Peterson. Just speak to some of the moves of when at the time you look and said some kind of minor move for some pieces, guys that weren't necessarily frontline players with other teams, and they've come in and really taken this Braves team to the next level, including Jock Peterson and Eddie Rosario, who have hands down won games for the Braves already in the postseason.
You don't normally see an 88 win team with a GM that's up for Executive of the Year, but that's got to be Alex Anthopoulos. He's up there with the job that Scott Harris over in San Francisco has done, and that team won 107 games. Right? What Anthopoulos has done cannot be overstated enough. He completely re-overhauled this entire starting lineup and made them dangerous. The Jock Peterson turning into Barry Bonds during the playoffs. Eddie Rosario with 12 hits already. These are significant things that were acquired via trade. So again, Anthopoulos has to be one of the top 2 favorites to win Executive of the Year.
To that end, when you think about the additions, Adam Duvall making plays offensively, but now defensively as well. What does he mean to this team?
I couldn't believe he made that catch in center field. Someone who is a great defensive outfielder that doesn't play center field that often, coming up with a huge play like that right after he hit a home run. Absolutely massive. Duvall's been just a transcendent for the Braves. As soon as he puts on that Braves uniform, he turns from Adam Duvall into, this magnificent creature that's putting up bomb after bomb, putting up play after play, significant play after play. Again, you can't understate how well Anthopoulos did this trade deadline.
Best games, first two games of the series, you see him having the ability to bounce back. Just talk about Freddie Freeman's importance to this team, not just what he does offensively, but just what he means to the team mindset-wise.
Anytime you can ask questions to the former MVP from just last year about any situation, you look at him over in the dugout. He's always cool and collected. He's always ready. He went 0 for 7. He went 0 for 8 with 7 strikeouts to start off the series, and now he's on the cusp of hitting. I think it's almost like 350 in the playoffs. It's just astounding. What you're able to count on from Freeman is astounding, and he's got to be by far the number one priority for the Braves this offseason. Because when you think first base, you think Freddie Freeman, and there's not really anyone else that comes close. So that Anthopoulos is extremely excited over the chance of extending this guy.
Gaurav Vidoc joining us here on 3 and Out. And Gaurav, how important is tonight's ball game to finish the deal? I know a lot of people say, boy, it'd be nice to play in Atlanta in front of the home crowd, but that would also mean potentially Max Scherzer, Walker Buehler going for the Dodgers. How important do you think it is for this Braves team, especially in a house of horrors that's been Dodger Stadium for them, to try to finish this deal tonight?
Yeah, you have to win as soon as you can. And like you said, even a dead arm Max Scherzer is still so dangerous. He's still scary. A full rested Walker Buehler is terrifying to see. Yeah, it would be fun to win at home, but finish the series in LA, to really exercise those demons from last year of dropping a 3-1 series lead, to get rid of all of that and go into the World Series feeling refreshed and like, again, exercising that demon. I couldn't imagine the mental toll that this past offseason has had on those players. So being able to get it all done, finishing it tonight, could not be, has to be of the utmost importance.
Do you think tonight's game, Gaurav, will be decided in the first couple of innings? And what I mean by that is, if Atlanta comes out early, gets some runs, that's going to really put the pressure on LA with their kind of bullpen setup. Could you set the tone right away if you're Atlanta tonight?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's going to be another bullpen game for them. They had to cover many, many innings last night. The arms available, there might be 4 or 5 really that they're going to have to heavily lean on. So if you can get a reliever early on and really screw up that rotation for Dave Roberts, they could be in for, a world of hurt, unfortunately for the Dodgers, unfortunately for the Braves. To come out strong and really get into the heads of the Dodgers thinking about and force them to think about the moves in the second inning and really throw off everything, it could set the entire tone for the rest of the game. So look for the Braves to really try and score early on, because again, you get to them early and you screw up that rotation, that bullpen rotation, you're asking for trouble.
And because obviously this Braves team understand how dangerous this Dodgers team can be, how much better is the Dodgers making the Braves because of the fact that they know they cannot allow them Dodgers bats to get hot?
It's that exact thing. Right now, you're seeing the Dodgers being able to run like crazy on the pads. They're able to score at any moment's notice. It's a terrifying squad to go up against. And yeah, they're missing Max Muncy, and now it looks like Justin Turner's probably done for the season for them. But you still look at their lineup. You look at the guy that made those big plays or those big errors for them, Gavin Lux. He's an ultra talented, really young player. You can't overstate what the Braves starting rotation and bullpen have done against such a great squad.
Gaurav Vidoc, Talkie Chop, joining us here on 3 and Out. Gaurav, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Appreciate it. And Braves and Dodgers, Game 5 coming up tonight. We'll have full coverage for you coming up at 6:50 here this evening. Max Fried against a bullpen squad for the Dodgers. BJ and Ben, I mean, this is go take care of business, right? I mean, you've got a wounded Dodgers team, literally, with going deep in their bullpen to just try to get through this game that they have to win. No Justin Turner, no Max Muncy. You have to go out there and keep the pressure on and win this one, right?
And yes, and I'm looking for that tone to be set right away. As Gorov said, the Dodgers are really limited, right, Kevin, with options tonight. I mean, if you get 3 or 4 in the first inning or two, it's not like you have a plethora of possibilities. If you're Dave Roberts, you are limited. You don't have many rested arms, and you can turn this game into a very difficult one circumstantially for LA right away if you're Atlanta. So look, it always comes down to late inning moments in playoff baseball. We know that. But I think the first inning or two for Atlanta may ultimately set the table for this thing.
I'm just looking forward to who's going to get hot in this lineup, not named Rosario, not named Freddie Freeman. I mean, Austin Riley, he still got a chance to go out there and get hot. I mean, Dansby Mansby can go out there and get hot. And I just think for this Braves team, I mean, win with how you got here. Don't try to switch things up. You understand the Dodgers are playing with their backs against the wall. They've been like that since this series started, and nobody's looking past the Dodgers, Kevin and BJ, because of how good of a team they are. But the Braves show last night, Kevin, even with that being a great performance, if the Braves play their best game and the Dodgers play their best game, can the Braves still come out the winner? I hope that's the case come tonight.
And I think there's a lot of Braves fan hoping that's the case here this evening, and the Braves wrap this thing up and move on to the World Series, and what a build-up that's going to be for this Braves team if they can get there. We've got so much more to get to on the show. George Reisler had to move him back. He'll join us at 4 o'clock. We'll take 3 when we return here on 3 and Out. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out. BJ, Ben, and Kevin, glad you are making us a part of your day. George Rice are going to join us, former Jaguars tight end, at the top of next hour. But first, in lieu of that, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas, take 1. If the Braves win the NLCS, would you rather play Boston or Houston?
I think the Red Sox might be a better matchup. I know that there are, of course, great players on both those teams, but we were going over Houston's starting rotation in the show meeting, and that's a problem. That's a very serious problem. And, of course, Houston has had very recent success, but I feel like an Atlanta-Boston series would be really cool, too, getting to see the Braves play in Fenway there in the World Series. I mean, what a stage, what a setting. And it's the World Series. You're going to play somebody great. But to me, I think maybe a more manageable opponent in the Boston Red Sox than the Houston Astros.
Yeah, BJ. I mean, the lesser of two evils, or the lesser of two strengths. I mean, in this regard. But I mean, the last time the Braves were in Fenway, I mean, they've had some really, really good, a good success there. But I would go with the Red Sox for the simple fact that you're not too many years to move for them trash cans. I mean, I don't know how sophisticated the Braves got to be if they do play Houston. In the World Series. So because, trash cans and, and cameras have gotten a lot better then. I mean, phones are different. I don't want to have to deal with the conspiracies if you're dealing with the Astros. And, Altuve and those boys, they do get it in. But I'm just saying, I mean, is Freddie Freeman looking, is Freddie Freeman looking, at the pitcher, or is he looking in the outfield saying, is that a trash can I see right? So for me, yeah, I'll go with the Red Sox, because I think if the Braves do get there and they beat an iconic team like Boston, it's only going to add, even more to how beautiful it's going to be.
I was going to say, I would say the only other series that would give you 2 more angst-ridden fan bases would be if the Cubs were in this thing. And the Red Sox and Cubs finally got their World Series, but they still have angst. And the Braves fans have angst. I mean, the Miami Marlins, have more championships than the Braves do. That's fine, Christian. Christian's trying to make old jokes in my ears over here because I said the Florida Marlins. Listen, I do it. I think Red Sox Braves would be really cool because obviously the Braves started out in Boston as a franchise, and you get to play against Boston for a chance to bring home that hunk of metal, as Rob Manfred liked to say. So I would say, give me Boston in the World Series if I could. Although the Astros be a heck of a series, but like Ben said, heaven forbid there's a close, questionable call or the Astros start raking Braves pitching, which has been really good this postseason. It's going to be, I saw a mysterious red light coming from the right field seats. And then it's going to start that whole conspiracy thing going. Don't want to have to deal with any of that. Moving along, take 2. Rank the following college football coaching jobs. These are vacancies right now. Rank them, obviously, 1, 2, 3. LSU, Miami, and Southern Cal all open right now.
I think that they are all 3 elite jobs, and I might surprise some people. I think I would go Miami 1, LSU 2, and Southern Cal 3. And I think the reason is because if you're looking at sort of the likelihood moving forward of winning a national championship, I think the obstacles are more difficult in the SEC West. I mean, we say it time and time again, the SEC West is the toughest division in football, not for a year or two here, but here or there, but consistently throughout. And that very division, you have Alabama, of course, you have Texas A&M. This is in addition to LSU. You have Auburn, you have Ole Miss. I mean, Arkansas is no joke now. And I believe the common opponent for LSU every year is Florida. So every single season, before you even get to your non-conference schedule, you're playing Alabama, Texas A&M, Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Florida. And I think as SEC teams continue to just add resources across the board to their football programs, I think it becomes more difficult to maintain a schedule like that and to be at a championship level with the current format. You have great high school football, great talent in the state of Louisiana, obviously, and you don't have a direct a competitor in terms of a Power 5 school. But I think when you look at Miami in the ACC Coastal Division, there's much more room to make a run. And look, Georgia Tech has a lot of tradition. Virginia Tech has a lot of tradition. We thought North Carolina was going to be right there. Pitt has a lot of tradition. But in terms of recent seasons, there's not this obstacle that you have to overcome that's just an impossibility. And you look at Miami's common opponent. Miami plays Florida State every year, and Florida State was 0-4 a couple of weeks ago. So I think on paper, if you get the right coach, you get the right players, you have the right confidence and momentum, you can compete at a national level easier, if that's the right word, at Miami than you can LSU. And I think the recruiting pipeline is unparalleled in South Florida with the talent there. Ben, I know you always talk about the alumni, the energy around Miami and the resources you have there. I'll go Miami 1, LSU a close second, and SC third.
I'll go LSU 1, I'll go SC 2, and I'll go Miami 3. The thing about LSU is every coach that I've seen them, from Nick Saban, which was a defensive guru, Les Miles, which was an offensive guru, and then you talk about a guy like Coach O, who just he's an overseer, kind of like the face of the program. They've all won. They've all won the national championship. Now, is it going to be ebbs and flows in between those winning years? Yes, but they have won in the hardest division. They have won. USC, I do think, is a player away. And when I say a player, I'm talking about a quarterback. You can get the right coach in there, but if you got the right quarterback, you got a chance to go out there and compete in a Pac-12 who's the best team right now? Oregon? I just think that, the Pac-12 is just ready for a team like USC. And the reason why I put Miami third is, BJ, with everything you're saying, as easy as it is, it should be for Miami to win it. They can't win it. Like, think about it. With everything you say, they can't do it. With they down ACC, guess who else was down? Miami. Miami's been to one ACC championship. One. And I understand, BJ, and maybe Miami and USC are in the same boat for this reason. You're not paying for a coach. You're paying to get back to what you once was. You're not going to do that again. That's not going to happen again. Miami has 30 for 30s, like different series, different. And you listen,
They have
Miami,
multiple 30 for 30s.
Miami used to be what LSU was doing. That every coach used to come through there, won natties. Now they ain't even making ACC championship games. They ain't even finished second in their division. This is the Miami team, BJ, that was scoreless in a bowl game 2 years ago. They're always going to be, in one of the biggest recruiting, hotbeds in Florida, but it doesn't seem to get it done. And Miami can't even get the coaches they want anymore. Forget getting a coach. They can't even get the one they want. So for me, I think it is LSU because, BJ, it's something about being able to control the entire state. They have the entire state of Louisiana on their side, and they're going to get some good players, in Texas and in surrounding states. I think USC is a player away because they're going to be able to recruit. If they can keep their best quarterbacks in the state of California, and I don't know, not have them come to the Southeast, they'll be fine. But right now, for me, Miami is number 3 because I just can't. It ain't the players, it ain't the coaches. It might just be the culture right now. Ed Reed is back on campus, and you can't even tell. I know they got some great players and a great tradition, but, BJ, we are so far removed from that Miami is on borderline becoming just a regular program.
And, of course, LSU open after Ed Orgeron reached an agreement with LSU. Southern Cal let Clay Helton go back in week 3. Miami not open, but if they continue to struggle, some speculation that maybe Manny Diaz might be out there in Coral Gables. Moving along to take 3, more likely upset on Saturday. Tennessee beating Alabama, third Saturday in October, tradition there with Tennessee and Alabama getting together. Tennessee beating Alabama or Indiana beating Ohio State.
And Ohio State's been playing great recently, and Indiana doesn't have Michael Penix, their star quarterback. He's hurt, I think, out for an undetermined amount of time. I think it's Indiana, even without their quarterback. Indiana at home. I mean, Ben, you always say we see every once in a while kind of the weird games in the Big Ten where Ohio State loses to somebody they shouldn't. Now, I know they've already lost to Oregon this year, and they seem to be on a mission to get back to the college football playoff. But Tennessee's been improved. Tennessee's got a real chance to make a bowl game. It's been exciting to watch the Volunteers play. But this is a different type situation, playing an Alabama team in Tuscaloosa that now has no margin for error. I think the fact that Alabama lost to Texas A&M is a really bad thing for everybody else on the Crimson Tide schedule, because now you're going to get a completely, focused, even if you weren't already, just an even better effort than what you've had moving forward, because you know that this is it. You're basically in a week-to-week playoff if you're Alabama, and nobody's better in those settings than the Crimson Tide. So wouldn't be surprised if Alabama wins that game very comfortably. I think if it's a game late in the second half, that would be a shocker to me. But I'll take Indiana at home, the more likely upset than Alabama losing at home to Tennessee.
Yeah, Ohio State. I mean, they've already kind of shown early in the season against an Oregon team that I think was even a match against them that they lost that one early in the season. I mean, CJ Stroud has been playing out of his mind, but Ohio State they good for one of these games every year, right? I mean, I know the Boilermakers are usually the one trying to ruin people's season, and Iowa tried to play the the disrespect card this year, but I do think BJ it's Indiana. There ain't a listen. I can appreciate what Tennessee is doing. I mean, I really, really can. I can appreciate the fact that, Hendon Hooker finally got a chance to be the starter. You see how much he's helping elevate that offense. It is going to be rough for Tennessee this week. It is going to be rough. Down weekend for games this week. I mean, Tennessee kind of wish it was other games on the docket so people would not be watching their game. But it's going to be ugly for them Tennessee Vols, even if they are playing, more spirited, brand of football right now. For BJ, for me, it is Indiana. Even if they're down, they start in QB. Indiana knows how to go out there and play an Ohio State team. You frustrate them. You make them play 4 quarters of football. You make them play that slow brand of football, just running the football, trying to keep that Ohio State offense off the field, force that defense to try to get some stops. So for me, it is Indiana potentially getting a big upset against Ohio State. Tennessee, good season this year, superseding expectation. But perception will not meet reality when you talk about this Alabama team that they've already lost, and I don't see them losing again. So good luck, Tennessee.
Again, I still think it's Tennessee more likely to beat Alabama, and I don't think that's a great shot, but I don't think Indiana's got a great shot at beating Ohio State either. Now watch both of those things. Indiana probably win by 10 or something. But no, you mentioned Indiana without their starting quarterback. That's a big deal. I just think if you're going to pick one that's more likely, I would say Tennessee, new offense, up-tempo, fast-paced. That would be at least something that Alabama has to deal with. Indiana it's Indiana football against Ohio State. They have to deal with that. That's all I'm saying. That's a great breakdown. That's why you come to me for the hot takes. I'm just saying. Look. Without your starting quarterback, it was going to be hard with your start with Michael Penix. Look, without him, I think it's going to be an uphill battle there against the Buckeyes. Tennessee, I think, has a puncher's chance. Maybe people are like, oh, he just said no. That's not what I'm saying. When we do our picks tomorrow, I will pick Alabama and I will take all the points. But the question was, which do you think is more likely to happen? And that neither one is likely to happen. I think Tennessee would be more likely to happen.
Last time Tennessee won in Tuscaloosa was 2003, and it took 5 overtimes. That was a 5 overtime win for Tennessee back in 2003.
When was the last time before that?
Well, I wasn't prepared to answer that question, Kevin.
I'm saying basically it's been a long time since that's happened outside of something weird happening like 5 overtimes. Let's take 3. We do it each and every day. This time we got more to come here. 3 and out. George Reister will join us top of the next hour here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here on 3 and Out on this Thursday. We will chat with George Reister, former Jaguars tight end, coming up in just a little bit. Also, Roddy Jones will join us in the final hour of the program. Bill Shanks will join us to talk some Braves baseball with him, and we'll look at conference expansion, which is still in the news, and a lot of news out there about the Sun Belt and what they could potentially be looking at moving forward in college football. So that's still to come here on the show. You can hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We'd love to hear from you here on this Thursday. But coming up next week, next Friday, the third annual Ben Troop Florida Georgia Legend Series going to be taking place there at the Jekyll Island Westin. Going to have a lot of former players in that game on hand. And again, free to folks to come out and attend. Everyone's welcome to come out and enjoy a wonderful evening there at the Jekyll Westin.
Yes, I'm looking forward to a third annual, Florida Georgia Legend Series. It should be a lot of fun. Going to be held at the West End on Jekyll Island. And like Kevin said, it is going to be free for everybody to attend. I mean, we got a star-studded group of guys going to be there. I mean, Washawn Ely, DJ Jones, Willie McClendon from the Georgia side, Carlos Alvarez, Jeff Chandler, D. Well from the Florida side. I mean, I'm just looking forward to, meeting guys like Carlos Alvarez, and finally meeting a guy like Washawn Ely, who grew up, not too far from where I grew up, in Swainsboro, GA, going to Mayo County Institute. But this is how I show, my respect and pay homage to the guys that came through the game. Florida, Georgia is obviously near and dear to my heart, being a Georgia boy, and understanding just how prestigious this game is. So this is my way of saying thank you to the guys that, paved the way for the current crop of Florida Gators and Georgia Bulldogs. But yeah, it should be fun. Next Friday, the 29th, the Westin, Jekyll Island, gonna be a lot of fun. Come out, get a bunch of autographs signed, get your pictures taken, get a chance to meet some of the greatest players that ever come through this game. The third annual Florida Georgia Legend Series held next Friday at the Westin Hotel on Jekyll Island. Be there, be nowhere else.
And just to confirm, you're going to be a completely impartial, objective analyst, right? A host, objective.
You've heard me before, BJ. I never ever pick sides. I mean, I just told you, I represent the best high school football in the greatest state there is, in the state of Georgia. But when it comes to college, had to make a decision. So I chose to go to that neighboring state, that bordering state down south. No, BJ, I'm just looking forward to being able to have some healthy banter back and forth. And once we start talking about the real game, I'm gonna get quiet.
There we go. So join us next Friday there, the Westin on Jekyll Island. We're gonna have a great time for the third annual Ben Troop Georgia Florida Legends Series. We'll come back. George Reister will join us. We'll talk some NFL football with him when we return here on 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're making us a part of your day. Plenty to get to here in hour number 2, including our conversation with our next guest. A 4th-round pick in 2003 by the Jacksonville Jaguars at tight end. George Reister joins us here on 3 and Out. George, welcome to the show. How are you?
Man, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing fantastic. I know a lot of talk about Jacksonville this year with Trevor Lawrence, with Urban Meyer. I know they finally got their first win, 1-5, but what have you seen out of Jacksonville? Is this an experiment with Urban Meyer that you think is going to work long-term in the National Football League?
Well, college coaches going to the NFL have proven on a large scale that they usually don't work, right? So Urban Meyer, if he is successful, is going to be an outlier. But obviously, he's off to a rocky start with the hiring of the strength coach, Chris Doyle, and then following that up with the getting himself and the team fined hundreds of thousands of dollars for the off-season protocol violations in terms of contact, and drafting Travis Etienne when you need 55 other things on your roster. And then obviously the scandal that happened two weeks ago. So yeah, he's off to a rough start, but obviously there's still time to rebound and regroup. But if you saw in the last game in London, there was a free weight to the quarterback. I mean, if Trevor Lawrence was not a great athlete, dude, he would be getting sacked every single play. So the goal number one has Trevor Lawrence upright and to figure out their offensive line schemes and protections.
George, with all that you mentioned, how do you think Urban Meyer is viewed in that locker room?
Oh man, I mean, I would be looking at him with a side eye, but at the same time, he is your head coach, and he's the only one that you got right now. So there is a level of respect that is required for your head coach, regardless of whether you like him, agree with him, or anything like that. But obviously, he's worn some things thin with people in the locker room and the organization. So it's like if you have a bad relationship with your kids, right? But then you're still providing housing and all these other things, and there's a certain level of respect that you're going to get. But obviously, your relationship could be better, and that's the point that he's at now. That he's got to improve that part of the game, because the relationship with the players is crucial to your own personal success and the team's long-term prognosis as well.
George, how hard is it going to be for a guy like Urban Meyer to really understand that everything he's done up to this point has only garnered him the attention to be the head coach of a Jacksonville Jaguars team that, has won one game, but it's not the same NFL for when me and you played in it. Catering to the players is just a part of, just the norm now.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. The reason why college coaches aren't necessarily usually successful is because they are used to being God on their campuses. Like, they are the end-all, be-all. They're the highest-paid state employee. Everybody worships at their feet, and the kids know if they comply, then their playing time and NFL chances are going to be down. And especially before the transfer portal and all of that stuff, it was a lot harder on them, right? And when you go to the NFL, grown men, some of which who make more than the head coach, who have cap numbers that are restrictive of them being cut and demand them to be played there, and that these guys have kids, mortgages, wives, investments, businesses, all of them, and some of them are, plus 32. So you have to treat them as a peer and not as a, like you're the authority figure.
And switching gears to the Atlanta Falcons, George, I mean, obviously, man, you had a chance to talk about him a little bit last week. Kyle Pitts coming into the league at a really, really good time when the tight end position is looked upon as a weapon. You see Travis Kelce, you see George Kittle, you see Zach Ertz, you see, Darren Waller. How good do you think a guy like Kyle Pitts can be if, he can find a way to put it all together? And, what do you think the ceiling is for a young man like this?
Well, see, there are two types of tight ends. Well, three really, is that there are blocking tight ends, there are receiving tight ends, and then there are guys who can do a little bit of both, right? But one's going to be better than the other, right? But guys who are solely receiving tight ends, their careers are usually shorter because as you get older, some of your athleticism fades and all of that. But he's going to have to find a way to make sure he can hold up good enough, at least as good as a Travis Kelce in the run game, because Kelsey's not an outstanding blocker, but he's capable and willing. And you saw that in Kyle Pitts last year at Florida, that he was more willing than he had been, because he knew that he had to be. So in the NFL, he's going to have to be even more willing, because what happens is that it makes teams easier to scheme for your offense when they know that this guy can't be at the point of attack on a block, or he's bad on the backside, or whatever else. So they can game plan and scheme. Oh, it's going to be a pass if he's in, or he's going to be releasing the go block instead of blocking at the point of attack. And those things really impact how offenses run. So he's got to make himself more of a complete player in the run game to help him be a better pass catcher.
And George, it seems like kind of the evolution of the tight end position, and maybe you would say it hasn't evolved. It's always kind of been this way, but it seems like now when you get a guy like a Kyle Pitts, nobody even talks about what you just talked about. It's like blocking. No, he's out here to catch touchdowns and create mismatches.
Yeah, no. That's what his primary job is. But to be able to get to do that job and do it more effectively, he's got to be competent. Not great, not good. He's just got to be competent in the run game, because then that's going to allow him to do more things to be able to get him the ball. So he doesn't have to be great at some of this other stuff. He's just got to be good enough so he's a threat, and it can't put people in a bad spot.
We've talked with Ben about this a lot, George, but you look at offenses in the league now, there are a number of them that run through the tight end, where the tight end is arguably the primary pass catcher. Do you think that we're going to see more of that moving forward in the NFL?
As the primary, no. I think that those are outlier situations, but I do think that you're going to see more situations to where coaches are finding ways to use their tight ends more. But as far as, because it makes it very difficult. It's easier to stop an inline tight end from getting the ball just because of the sheer space, right? But so as the primary pitcher, no, because the majority of guys aren't going to be able to run past, safeties and run past corners like some of the top wide receivers are going to be able to do.
It's a team from Atlanta that went up 3-1 against the team from LA. I don't know if you had a chance to see the game last night. I know it started out this way last year, man. But what are your early thoughts of this Dodgers Braves NLCS?
Are you an Atlanta Braves fan?
Yes. Yes. By default, no. Of course, I'm Atlanta. I don't want to assume. Are you a Dodgers fan?
Absolutely, die hard.
So yes, listen. I only wear two kinds of hats. Atlanta and nothing else. If I don't got on A-Town down fitted, it's not me. But no, we saw this last year though, George. 3-1. This break, different Dodgers team, different Braves team, but. How dangerous are your Dodgers, man, when they got to, kind of be, fighting back in this corner?
Listen, man. We are not dead. We are not buried. We are in a level of concern. However, if I were you, I would be even more concerned than I am as a Dodgers fan, because Atlanta is the most tortured sports city in America. 28-3, 3-1 last year with your Atlanta Braves. Georgia losing to Alabama every year when they think that they're going to win the championship. You got how many times the Braves lost the World Series? Like, dude, Atlanta is a tortured sports city, and then that's before you even get into the NBA and the fact that you can't even get a good team or a championship caliber team in for forever. So yeah, man, I'm feeling good. I'm sitting pretty over here as a Dodgers Lakers fan, championship both in 2020, and then gonna put another one up in 2022 as well, man. So hopefully, that when the Dodgers do come back, that you don't cry on your way to the car, man.
George, number one, this is a family show, so we're gonna keep things, on the up and up. No, listen, everything. Listen, you made a lot of key points there, but this is a different year. Listen, we don't got LeBron, we got Trigger Trey out here with them Atlanta Falcons. But I will say just that at the end though, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna feel a certain type of way. But if we can't find a way to if those Braves do find a way to go ahead and make it to the World Series, I mean, we're gonna have to have you back on, man.
Hey, man, look. If the Braves beat the Dodgers, baseball season is officially over, man. I mean, bro, really, truly think about it. Nobody wants the Atlanta Braves versus the Houston Astros in the World Series. So, it'll be the lowest rated TV games possible. So, so baseball season will officially be over on my radio show and my podcast as soon as the Dodgers are done playing, whenever that is, whether it's today, tomorrow, whether it's today, whether it's Saturday, or whether it is after the World Series is over with. That's when baseball season is.
Listen, Jay-Z married Beyonce, George. Anything is possible in his life. So I'm just thinking right now, we watch it out for them A-Town down Braves, man. It might be something different this year.
No. You guys are like, you guys have a sports curse right now that you guys have to break prior to come holla at the champs, man.
No curses. Don't believe in them at all. George Reister, our guest. George, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. George Reister, our guest here on 3 and I stick by the ain't no curses. We'll see what happens tonight with the Christian. He's just feeding into your own want there to be a curse. You want there to be a reason that it happens. You do. I know what's up. It's about to be 4-1. That's what's about to be up. We'll come back. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. in light of George Reister talking about the curse and Christian just reveling in it. I mean, Christian is bathing in it like ivory soap. The team is cursed. The town is cursed. This and that. I've come up with a new theory on this, is that anymore people want their team to be cursed, right? Because it makes them feel better about cheering for their team. We didn't win, not because we didn't make the plays. It's because we were cursed. It's because a goat ran on the field back in 1947. That's why the Cubs couldn't win. It couldn't be because their owners were cheap and because they couldn't really put together a bunch of, I mean, yes, did weird stuff happen? Sure. Weird stuff happens in life. Weird stuff happens in sports all the time. Jose Canseco had a home run off of his head. Like, stuff happens. All right, I get Steve Bartman. Look, just crazy stuff. The bottom line is, in sports, you have opportunity to make plays. For as much as people want to say, no, the Falcons 28-3. Falcons defense still had plenty of opportunities to get off the field, didn't do it. Right? For as much as Steve Bartman cost the Cubs a chance to go to the postseason, they still had more outs to get in that game. People forget the routine double play that was missed. Right around that same time. People forget that there was a whole nother game left to be played that they could have had. Listen, Christian wants to feel this way. Why? Because he's self-loathing and wants to feel bad. Fine, I'm old. Look, it's sports. Stuff happens.
All right, but hold on. Just to confirm, you're saying that if the Braves lose tonight, it has nothing to do with the Falcons being up 28-3 in the Super Bowl. It has everything to do with Ben watching the game. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Whoa, this is the thing too. Okay, I mean, me and George kind of went back and forth about this. You know, it's one of those things to where if I'm a boxer, right, and I'm undefeated, and I come from a family that used to get knocked the hell out, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Oh, your daddy used to get knocked out too. No. Has nothing to do with 28. Has nothing to do with 28-3. Has nothing to do with chickens. Has nothing to do with Mr. Freeze always catching people or whoever he is when they're racing. No. This is what George started doing. George started saying, hey, George started going to the Lakers. The Lakers got LeBron. If I would have said Kawhi, no, not that LA team. And I'm sorry. I mean, when the Rams went to the Super Bowl, they scored a whopping 3 points.
I'm just saying, but like when notice he's like, and you got a Hawks, like, have the Hawks ever been in a position where they could realistically win the championship? I mean, I know they got close, but
they got trigger traded, look real.
But
good
nobody,
last year,
but nobody. I understand that, but nobody really is like, oh, this team's about to win the championship. Come on, no curses. Stop buying into all that nonsense, and just enjoy the game.
Hold on.
Just enjoy it.
Did he try to say how many World Series did the Braves win? Hey, look, don't be trying to get into our history. You know what I'm saying? In the 90s, but I will say this: everybody can. It's like we talking about the here and now. He's talking about, oh man, we sitting pretty over here. No, you sitting pretty in your career. Probably, you know, it's real nice weather out there, in SoCal. But I said we're gonna have you back on because when they catch that L, this ain't about what happens in the World Series, right? This what happened right now. So when them Braves be moving on, you know, and now Kevin, I said it. Now when the Braves win the World Series, now we got to go to the parade. Just like I say, yo, George. Look, this us right here, Jess. You know, George gonna talk that trash. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Southern Cal kid. I mean, I said, but it's the thing. I said, okay, I'm from Georgia, went to Florida. Where did he go to college? Did he go to Southern Cal? Did he go to UCLA? He went to Oregon. So all I'm saying is, don't try to act all this recent stuff. But yes, Kevin, it's about the here and now to my 2022. What's going to happen in 2021 when the Braves be hoisting up that World Series trophy?
All right, I also have to get clarification on this, though, because you see it all the time on social media. You hear it from people. When you talk about the Atlanta sports curse, and then you reference the Georgia-Alabama game, is what happens in Athens part of the Atlanta sports curse?
Christian is saying it is a Georgia sports curse, which totally explains the 6 national championships for Georgia Southern and the 4 for Val. I mean, I get it. You know, it's fine. Are you discounting those? Because it's fine. If you are, just say yes, because I discount Atlanta United. I don't count that either. Okay, that's fine.
Y'all pick and choose. This is absurd.
Look,
I think Christian really just wants to feel bad about his sports teams. He doesn't really. You don't really feel. No, I'm saying, but you come in here and you talk all the time. It's like, but you don't ever really feel good unless there's something to feel bad about. Like that's what I'm saying. And Georgia fans and Braves fans need to just get over it. if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's sports. The other team is trying. Like, it's fine. This Braves team is really good. I feel good about them going in tonight. Whether or not, the only thing I do believe in sports is the don't talk things into existence thing. I don't even, I don't go out and say that Team X is going to win the national championship. Team X is going to win the World Series. Team X is going to win the Super Bowl. Don't say stuff like that, because that just doesn't need to be said. But no, because it's not because of a curse. It's just because you don't speak things aloud and say we're chalking it up. That because you don't chalk things up in sports. You, especially not national titles and world titles. You don't do that, because again, that's the peak of performance in your sport. So you don't just walk out there and say it's over. We've got this thing won. You don't do that in sports. That's not because I believe in curses. I just don't think you chalk it up till you win.
All right, hold up. But
what do you say? It ain't over till it's over. So you don't start going out there saying it's done in game 3 of best of 7.
Okay, with all that said, is this series over?
Not until the Braves finish one. No, it's not. Look, I feel good about it. If you're going to say, give me Max Fried versus the Dodger bullpen, yes. Are you going to say, give me this Braves lineup against a Dodgers lineup without Justin Turner and Max Muncy? Yeah, feel pretty good about it. Does that mean it's over? No. Still got to go out there and make plays. It has nothing to do with whether or not Luke Jackson comes into the ball game or not.
Listen, we was having a good show. We're not going to let George come up here and mess up the flow of this show.
This is as much for Christian as it is everybody else, because Christian is wanting a reason to come in tomorrow and feel bad about himself. You do. He's waiting for the other shoe.
No.
And there's no reason to be like that.
Kevin, you said I only feel good when the bad things happen. No, I feel even worse. There's just never a good feeling. Like, it is a constant state of being in physical pain by being a fan of the team I am a fan of. It's bad.
I mean,
like you said,
I'm
you're supposed to be happy when the good things happen. When do the good things happen, Kevin?
The good things happen for 14 straight years with the Atlanta Braves. Would you rather be the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Kevin, I wasn't in my 40s when that was happening. You were. All right. I said I was a youth when that was happening.
So it just didn't happen?
No, I didn't have a chance to enjoy it because I was worried about what color.
So if you're under 30, the curse is real. If you're over 30, we've actually seen good things happen.
1,000%
okay.
real. No, you want to talk about a curse? You won 14 division championships. How many championships did you win?
I believe they won 1, which is
they
better
won
than
1,
0.
Kevin. You know they won 1.
It's better than
Christian.
Listen, you won a title. Yeah, it doesn't even make sense.
Not in this millennia.
No, stop.
Oh my God, keep moving the goalposts.
No, listen.
Kevin, 90 years old and saying, "Whoa, we keep moving the goalposts."
No, Atlanta has won a recent title. Kevin just doesn't count. Kevin just doesn't count it. You don't count the MLS championship by Atlanta United. That's ridiculous.
A major championship.
That doesn't count.
No, I'm sure somebody from Atlanta has won a chess championship before, and that doesn't count.
I mean, Arthur Blank says he's got a championship. That's fine, but I do not recognize Atlanta United championship.
If the Braves lose tonight, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to give you that look.
Give me the look, and I'll say, you know what? It's still not a curse.
You're going to have Walker bleeping Bueller and Max Scherzer back-to-back, and we all know what's coming.
No, you don't know what's coming. It's sports. Go make a play.
Kevin, you know how many times? You know how many times as a fan of the team I am, because I know you're not a fan of certain teams in this state.
No, well, I'm not going to say which ones because
you're super weird about which teams you root for. So you're not a fan of certain teams in the state. If there's a team in the state, I'm a fan of it. Let's just put it out there like that. You know how many times I've been right there, and I'm like, maybe I'm just going to let myself be happy. Maybe, and then they just rip your heart out. And they just
I'm sorry, you've never tasted victory.
And then they hold it in your face, and you watch it beating in your face. That's what they do to you, and it's happened time and time again.
I'm sorry you haven't tasted victory, but there are opportunities in this state for you to say, I have seen a team win a championship.
When I was 3 years old,
that still counts. That still counts.
When I was 3 years old.
Quit trying to make yourself feel bad about it.
Listen,
the Braves
Kevin,
World Series.
If you had your tonsils taken out when you were 7, did it still happen?
It did. I was 7. No. It doesn't count.
Name one significant thing you can remember from when you were 3.
From
growing up. Growing.
You don't remember that.
From when I was 3 years old? We were playing in the backyard.
Oh, my God. Get the hell out of here. If you don't think Atlanta sports are cursed, you're not paying attention.
They're not.
You're not paying attention.
They're not.
You're not paying attention.
So by that metric, they should have never fired anybody with the Falcons. Say, look, guys, it's fine. Dan Quinn, you're just cursed. It wasn't ever going to happen. You weren't going to win. It was a curse. Therefore, you should still be the head coach because no matter what you did, Dan Quinn, you're never going to win.
By that metric, June Jones should still be the head coach.
That's right.
I'm cool with that.
You never fire Freddie Gonzalez because, by God, Freddie, it's never going to happen. You are a coach of an Atlanta sports franchise. You are never going to win a World Series because it's not in the cards. It's not your fault. It's a curse's fault. No, go out and win a game.
Man, for somebody who doesn't believe in something, you're really passionate about it.
I'm passionate about people who are believing in this nonsense.
I need clarity.
That's actually real.
If we're talking about a Georgia sports curse, is Ben part of that, given what happened in 2002?
No, Ben was powered by the curse.
No, he's not powered by the curse.
Yeah, no, Ben,
he's not.
No, he's not currently, but the curse.
Some extra voodoo did not jump into Ben's body for 18 seconds.
Yes,
no, it did. No, it did not.
No, Ben. I want to give Ben a second. I'm gonna pose this question because I stole Ben's mic, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Ben. Ben, did you not say prior to catching that you were like dog tired? You were being covered by one of the greatest Georgia linebackers / safeties of all time. You could barely run, and yet somehow you lost him. No, Kevin, I'm asking Ben a question,
That's
not
fine.
you. I'm not going to.
You're really 30 for 30ing this thing big time.
I'm not going to let you PJ this. You're trying to.
He couldn't even curl his toes. He was so tired.
I'm not going to let you PJ this where you just step all over the conversation. Ben, you have told me multiple times that you were exhausted, could barely feel your legs, could barely feel your arms. You're being guarded by Thomas Davis, and you caught it. The voodoo of this curse is what helped you.
No,
I've never really looked at it as being powered by the curse, but I mean, whatever got me there, and you forgot to listen, and you're right. I did go up against Thomas Davis, one of the greatest safeties of all time, Boss Bailey, the brother of Champ Bailey, to be able to catch passes against him. This is all within the same drive. I mustered up enough grit. No, I was tired as hell. I don't know how I did it. I did it.
It's not the curse. Success was always there for somebody to take.
I was clawing for that inch.
Success is where preparation meets opportunity.
Talk about it, Kevin.
No, listen, Ben, we wrote a story on your catch a couple of years ago. So this is not just Ben saying this in the moment to affirm to affirm Christian's point. This is a story from multiple years ago, and a direct quote from Ben talking about the play says, quote, "I was exhausted. I had nothing left," end quote.
Well, Ben was lying.
Except the ghost.
Because he had enough left for one more play.
So now Ben's a liar.
In that moment, maybe he is. I'm saying. Ben, did you had something left? You made a play.
Listen. Whatever it took to get there, if it was a curse, if it was the electrolytes, whatever it took to get there, I got there, and I'm not taking it back. So, Christian, my next book is gonna be called what about the curse? What you call it, Christian? I was energized by the curse. Hey, I will take it, and we're gonna need it. Listen, we're gonna need the Braves to be energized by the curse today and go ahead and get that dub.
Just Braves fans, chill out and cheer on the team, and watch them go out there and make plays. Good night.
I'm not gonna let you do this, Kevin.
Oh, it's Atlanta sports. No, come on.
Crap. Don't give me that poop mouth.
The facts don't have to always make you feel happy, but it's not. You can't just sit there and go, "It's not going to happen because of the fact that we live in the 404."
The facts don't
no,
make me,
that's ridiculous.
No, first of all, keep the 404 out of this. I'm not hashtag 404 the culture. Actually, I think the Braves are technically now in a 770 or a 678 area code now, so they're not technically 404 the culture. But no, I'm saying we don't have to be happy that facts exist, but they do exist, Kevin. And the fact is, the Braves are cursed. The Bulldogs are cursed. The Falcons are cursed. Literally, Bomani Jones says he has given up being a Falcons fan because of it. Like,
well, that's on him.
Like he said, it's like getting rid of an addiction because nothing good was ever going to come of it.
I'm just saying, listen, you're a fan of a Falcons team that never had back-to-back winning seasons up until about 8 years ago, and you want to treat them like they're the daggum Pittsburgh Steelers.
Cool, Kevin.
Come on.
Seriously. No, let's just avoid the fact they were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl.
And that has nothing to do with a curse.
Just ignore that.
That has everything to do.
Yeah, Jordan Edelman levitated. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that had nothing to do with the curse.
And prior to the bad third and fourth down call, Julio Jones would make one of the great catches in Super Bowl history.
I'm coming around. That was a great play by Edelman. I'm coming around.
whatever.
levitated.
I hope.
He literally
I hope after the
levitated.
Braves get it done tonight that you and BJ
You
come
better
in here
damn hope
with
they
your
get 'em done.
sad faces on,
No, 'cause it's
and you
still
can
not
go,
over.
"Well, there's a curse."
It's still, it's
no,
still not
no,
over.
get
There's
out of
still
here with
4
that.
more games.
That is so
There's
bad.
Still 4 more games after that.
No,
You gotta
that's-
win.
I mean, you're
No,
justifying.
now Kevin's
no,
saying no. Now
You're
Kevin's saying
justifying your feeling bad because there's always one more game.
now Kevin's
There's
saying
always
that
one-
he's just happy that he's just happy getting to the World Series doesn't actually want to win it.
Well, I'd say that's a heck of an accomplishment given
Oh
where
my,
this.
that's
no,
a loser
I mean,
mentality,
it's
Kevin.
not a loser mentality. I didn't say, "Hey, go lay down, Braves."
You said I'm happy to be
Go
here.
lay down. Don't
Loser
try.
mentality.
Look, given where they were to where they're at, yes, this is a heck of a run, and they will have
Her
pushed yet
sister
another round.
was a witch, bro.
Yeah. Grow up. It's 3 and out. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Ben, your thoughts on tonight's Braves game? Oh, man, that is really so true. That was the best take of the day, BJ.
See, when we come, I'm cursed. This place is cursed.
I was just gonna let. I mean, I was gonna let you go, Ben. I mean, you should have just sat there in silence, man.
This is the thing, though. I like the fact that not only did Christian take my mic, he didn't give it back. I come here, I'm like, Christian, like, we'll take it back because I'm not gonna touch it because this mic is cursed now. No, Kevin, listen, let Christian get it out. That's a sour.
We'll get to that again later, but yes, we will. We'll talk some college football though as we get past the halfway point. We're now in the home stretch of the college football season. Who do you feel should be the Heisman favorite? Bryce Young, Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, all about the same in terms of completion percentage, pretty close in yards that they've completed for and touchdowns. I think Bryce Young, the most, 24 touchdowns, 3 picks, 14-1 for Matt Corral, 21-1 for Kenny Pickett. I think Pickett there at Pitt going to have the blemish against Western Michigan, though in that game threw for 6 touchdowns. Who do you got as kind of your Heisman front runner right now?
I would say Bryce Young right now, and I do think Matt Corral would be number 2 for me, and that seems to be kind of the national consensus. But I think in some ways we've kind of like with Oklahoma quarterbacks to a certain extent, we have these expectations that we just assume will be met for quarterbacks at Alabama, and we maybe don't give the full credit that's deserved. Bryce Young's completing 70% of his passes. He already has over 2,000 yards. He's averaging almost 9.5 yards per pass attempt. He has 24 touchdowns, and I think he's done that against a more difficult schedule than probably Corral and certainly Pickett. And I think doing it with the unrelenting pressure that you're going to deal with when you're the Alabama quarterback, I think that matters to a certain extent too. One element of Matt Corral's game, though, that I think you have to look at is his rushing production. He has just a couple of rushing scores off the national lead. He has, as you referenced, Kevin, comparable passing stats, at least within the same ballpark to Young. And he has 450 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. I mean, there's a chance he could get to 1,000 rushing yards. He's clearly going to get to double digits with the touchdown runs. But for me right now, I would go Bryce Young, Matt Corral, maybe a little bit beyond the reach of Pickett right now. Now, Kenny Pickett has had a fantastic start to the season. First half, like you mentioned, you want to put him third, I'm good with that. If he has a big performance against Clemson on Saturday, and you may say, oh, Clemson, they're not that good. Well, this defense is still elite. If he does it against Clemson, move him up there. Absolutely.
Bryce Young will be my number 1 right now, BJ, as well. I know you look at the rushing attempts. There's no rushing attempts because they know they're going to need him down the stretch. They're not going to put him in harm's way by having him tucking and running. I think when you look at a guy like Matt Corral is a bona fide dual threat quarterback. When you look at what 8 touchdowns on the season rushing, when you add that to what he does throwing the football, he's a weapon. Matt Corral is giving you all he got for an Ole Miss team that understands that if he don't play well, they're not going to do well. But Bryce Young is playing for legacy. Bryce Young is trying to be the first in Alabama's great history, storied history. They've never had a Heisman Trophy winner at the quarterback position, even with what Mac Jones was able to do last year. And I think that Bryce Young understands that what's at stake. I know it's about QBRs. I know it's about yards, but yak and all these different things. But for me, I just like the fact that Bryce Young is embracing this thing. He understands that I am still at arguably the best school in the country, even if we don't have number 1 next to our names right now. So like what Matt Corral is doing, BJ, and I do think the rushing numbers aren't taking into effect of just how great of a player Matt Corral is, but Bryce Young understands that this is about getting to Atlanta. This is about getting back to the college football playoff. This is about hoisting up another national championship and adding Heisman Trophy to his name. So give me Bryce Young, young man finding a way to, step up in a big way.
Yeah, and guys putting up unbelievable numbers. You mentioned the 2 guys that were at the front there, both have a loss. I think you look at Oklahoma, and with Spencer Rattler not starting anymore, he's certainly moving down the list, if not off it. JT Daniels hasn't been able to play in a number of games, so he's gone from he was the betting favorite going into the season, wasn't he, BJ, if I'm not mistaken? JT Daniels, he's probably down and off the list. Kenny Pickett's one, as you said, a good performance against Clemson, Not going to have a lot of chances after that to really make his case. He's got Miami, some teams that are kind of middling. But if you finish the regular season 11-1 and go to the ACC championship game against NC State, who also could be sitting there at 11-1, and you put up numbers there, could be a potential, at least an opportunity for you to make a case if those numbers continue. He's at 70%. If you'll let me round up, he's at 69.8% completion, 21-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's been phenomenal. I think the betting favorite would be Bryce Young there at Alabama, but I think quietly, again, if you just double take and say there's the blip against Western Michigan, which they lost by 3, and he threw for 6 touchdown passes and nearly 400 yards in that game. They didn't lose because of him in that situation. So I think he's an interesting kind of dark horse guy that probably not a lot of people are talking about at the end of the day in that Heisman discussion.
Yeah, he's been spectacular. And I think he's a big reason why Pitt is where they are. And if Pitt beats Clemson on Saturday, I think that elevates the national profile of the Panthers, but also Pickett individually. And Kevin, the numbers are very comparable. And that's why you think about Heisman odds in late October. It's hard to kind of have great conviction with your picks because the numbers are so similar. But I think it's a spotlight game for Pickett. I did go and look, and I was relatively surprised. I went and ranked all of the defenses in the country by pass defense rating, so not yards given up. I think some of that can be a little circumstantial, but pass defense rating, and gave each opponent that Pittsburgh, Alabama, and Ole Miss played a numerical ranking, and I averaged them all out. Kenny Pickett, the average defense that he's faced in terms of pass defense rating out of 129 or whatever it is, FBS teams, is 81.6. Bryce Young was at 73.2, and Matt Corral was at 64.6. So none of those numbers necessarily awe-inspiring when you think about going up against tougher competition, or how do you weigh who you play. There's a lot of football left. I think Pickett's in the conversation, but I would go Young, 1, and Corral 2 right now.
I mean, BJ, I'm shocked at you. We are talking about Heisman Trophy front runners, and you ain't even talking about old Grayson McCall. I know he was on TV last night, and I know he might have got kind of like might have got outplayed a little bit, but no Grayson McCall sightings. And when we talking about the Heisman, you say it's all about, it's because he don't play nobody and things of that nature. Why you think Grayson McCall ain't getting the love?
Well, he wasn't to begin with, and that's kind of why. I think he should be in the conversation. His passer rating, just an update after last night, is still at 225.8. That's about 20 points higher, which is extremely substantial than the record Mac Jones set a year ago. He's averaging over 13 yards per pass attempt and completing over 77% of his passes, which is just silly. That's video game stuff. But I do think, much like the point Kevin made with Kenny Pickett, even if you lost for different reasons, you lose to Western Michigan. If you're Kenny Pickett, that's going to be held against you. And I think App State's a very good team. That was a compelling game last night, but you lost. You weren't getting a ton of Heisman buzz before then, which I don't think was right. But I think when you talk about kind of where the public interest is right now, I don't think there's a lot of buzz around Grayson McCall. But Ben, to your point, I definitely think there should be.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Speaking of that Sunbelt contest, Sunbelt in the news, possible expansion on the horizon. We'll get to that coming up in the final hour of the show. Also, Roddy Jones, former Georgia Tech A-back, will join us. Bill Shanks, host of the Bill Shanks Show, will join us, and we will talk some Braves baseball with him. This is 3 and Out. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out. Max Fried goes for the Braves tonight. We'll have full coverage for you starting at 6:50. And Christian just gave me this little nugget, BJ. Max Fried with a chance. He's from California. A chance to send the Braves to the World Series in his home state. Actually, not far from his hometown. He's from Santa Monica, which is basically in LA. So Max Fried a chance to do, hey, it's like not for the hometown team, but a chance as a little kid. Hey, I'm in an elimination game with a chance to send my team to the World Series. I can do it in my home city, basically.
Great stuff. And he's been awesome. He's been absolutely awesome. And I think he's earned the opportunity that he has tonight. He's earned the trust of everybody on the team. When you think about a game where you want to close it out, Max Fried, the performances we've seen, that's the type of effort it's going to take. So I believe in Max Fried, Ben. I think to be able to get it done tonight, forget about game 6 or 7, get it done tonight, wrap it up.
I have some quick breaking news from the Atlanta Braves 10 minutes ago. Jorge Soler has been cleared by Major League Baseball to return from the COVID-related list, and he is available to play in tonight's ball game for the Atlanta Braves, and he will take over for Christian Pache on the active roster. So there's a little breaking news for you there. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll look at college football, conference expansion in the news. Roddy Jones will join us in the final hour, and Bill Shanks joins us talking a little Braves baseball as well. It's 3 and Out on this Thursday afternoon all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We're streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Good to have you back here. 3 and Out, final hour of the program, but a busy hour here. We've got Roddy Jones, ACC Network, joining us in about 15 minutes on the show. We'll hear from Bill Shanks, host of the Bill Shanks Show there in Macon and Warner Robins. Talk some Braves baseball with him. Jorge Soler back on the roster for tonight's ball game. No word on what his role might be, but he is back off the COVID list as well. But college football always in the news. BJ and Ben and college football expansion back at it again officially today, as we knew the dominoes had dropped for Texas and Oklahoma. There was going to be residual moves. The Big 12 thusly had to replace. Then you had the power struggle in those G5 schools, BJ and Ben, who said, what's going to happen to us? And right now, based on the talking points, it appears like the AC is now going to get a whole lot bigger and better, adding some teams out of Conference USA. And it appears that the Sun Belt will be a poacher, not a poachee, and that may spell the end of Conference USA altogether, as a lot of moves announced today about the AC going to get bigger here moving forward.
Yes, and this is a lot to follow, but it looks like, as you referenced, Conference USA may have a lot of questions to try to answer here moving forward, as you've seen a number of teams, FAU, Charlotte, North Texas, UTSA, Rice, and UAB are going to move to the AC, and then you have a Conference USA that then has a lot of holes. And the Sun Belt, keep in mind, the Sun Belt only has 10 teams right now. You have a 2-division format in football, I should say. In football, you have 10 teams, 5 on one side, 5 on the other side. And I think the goal, at least theoretically, conversationally, even if just to talk about, was, hey, what about a 12-team league? What about a 14-team league? And you've had a lot of reports out there. Chris Vanini, Pete Thamel have been breaking news on this, but looks like Southern Miss, which is a program that has ties, history with a number of teams in the Sun Belt currently, maybe coming over to the Sun Belt, potentially Marshall, possibly coming down, joining the Sun Belt. I think Marshall's with a number of programs, obviously, in the Sun Belt. And then theoretically, I think you are considering a couple of potential holdovers within Conference USA and maybe an FCS team, which is, of course, Division I in every other sport. We've seen James Madison mentioned as a potential target to go along with Old Dominion and Marshall, Southern Miss, and then James Madison. Those will be your 4 potentially that would get you to 14 in football. And I think theoretically, Kevin and Ben, even if you just look at the addition of Marshall and Southern Miss, you could have a hypothetical Sun Belt East of Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Troy, and Marshall. Those are programs that all know each other, programs that have all played each other, often in very big games. And then, again, possibly Arkansas State, Louisiana Monroe, South Alabama, Texas State, and Southern Miss out west. So it looks like, as you referenced and said, the Sun Belt's going to be adding teams, not losing teams, in this updated round of expansion.
This is what happens when you coming in with momentum, right? The Sun Belt is a conference that obviously, listen, we covered it. We covered the programs that's going to be able to add, to the tradition of the Sun Belt already, because you're talking about Southern Miss and Marshall. If you talk about the AC, and it's almost like you getting these leftovers. Like, all right, man, who's left that we can go ahead try to go ahead and add to this conference. But I do think BJ played Southern Miss. You got something you mentioned, Kevin. Now you got you a team in Mississippi, a team that's been relatively. I mean, they haven't been great, but they've been a good program. Marshall, West Virginia now, you get to be in those neck of the woods and try to, because it comes down to recruiting. It comes down to, listen, these Thursday night games. Thursday night at Paulson, you got Marshall, coming to town to play Georgia Southern. That's going to be a big game. I mean, so I think that when you look at the way the Sun Belt has done it, it shows that they're utilizing that. Look, we're not arguing with we're the best G5 conference right now going. When you look at what Coastal Carolina has added to this conference as of late, you get a chance to add a Southern Miss and a Marshall. That's going to be, it's going to look really, really good. Old Dominion and John Madison. I mean, hey, you can't win them all. I mean, I'm just saying sometimes you got to just add some teams that can hopefully boost the reputation of your overall conference. But the AC, I mean, FAU, Charlotte, North Texas, UTSA, Rice, UAB. I mean, good luck. But I do know this is a trickle effect, right, BJ? Of when Texas and Oklahoma decide to come over to the SEC, now these other conferences are obviously going to suffer.
Well, I think this is what the reality of the situation is we might be looking at it going from a P5 and G5 to a P5 and G4 because I mean, who's left? I mean, and this is a serious question because they're like, well, maybe they go and try to poach the Sun Belt. I mean, Sun Belt, you got to be looking at and say, look, we're in a better position than Conference USA, who has a bunch of teams bolt and leave early or leave the conference. Sun Belt has 10 pretty solid football programs for the most part, pretty good athletics conference. You get Marshall, which gives you West Virginia. And again, people say, well, I think it used to be about TV markets. Now I think it's about footprint because with streaming rights and all that, it kind of goes everywhere. But it would give you another state that has Sun Belt property in there. And then you look at Southern Miss, gives you a state right smack dab in the middle of your footprint that you currently have no relationship with at all. And that would be Southern Miss. And there's been times, maybe not right now, but there has been times, BJ and Ben, where people in Mississippi would argue, was Southern Miss actually a better team than Mississippi State or Ole Miss at certain points? And I think that's another one to give you. Now, if you look at Conference USA, you would say, as this thing shakes out, well, what's left? You have what? Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee State. I think Middle Tennessee would be interesting if you want to go to 14. That gives you another state of Tennessee. And who's left? Can you go out and get 6, 7, 8 teams to get you back to that magic number if you're Conference USA? I think today kind of signifies quickly that we might be looking at a P5 and a G4 in the not too distant future. Got about 30 seconds.
And you guys summed it up. This is all a response to the expansion moves that we've seen at the Power 5 level, and it trickles down. But I think there's a lot of solidarity amongst the Sun Belt teams. You think about the additions of Southern Miss, potentially Marshall. There's a lot of excitement and positive energy and momentum moving forward.
We've got more to come. Roddy Jones will join us when we come back. Former Georgia Tech A-back now with the ACC Network. And we'll talk to him next here on 3 and Out. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, thanks for making us a part of your day. Big weekend for the ACC. And joining us here, former Georgia Tech A-back, and now with the ACC Network, Roddy Jones joins us. Roddy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am great, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, appreciate you coming on. We were talking earlier about potential Heisman Trophy candidates, and a guy we kind of brought up with a good performance this weekend against a really good Clemson defense, despite what Clemson is compared to what we thought they were, is Kenny Pickett. How big of a statement can he make this week if Pitt can go continue with just that one loss and beat Clemson with a good offensive showing?
I think he absolutely can make a massive statement. I think when you look at what he's been able to do this year, he's got the second best offense in scoring offense in the entire country. He's been able to put up massive numbers when you look at his passing numbers, his touchdown numbers. He's only thrown one interception on the year. He's been spreading the ball around to a bunch of different guys. Just really love what Kenny Pickett's been able to do. And he's sort of been building towards this. He's a great story in making the right decision. This is a guy that had a Senior Bowl invite coming out of last year. He very well could have gone to the Senior Bowl with a good performance, been drafted early, probably on the third day, which would made him a 4th or 5th round pick. That's kind of where he was slotted. But he comes back and has been ascending up draft boards. I mean, this is the Kyle Trask, the Joe Burrow. Maybe he's not going to get as far as Joe Burrow up to number 1 overall, but that sort of ascent is a testament to him and believing his coaches. He's close with Peyton Manning, so believing what Peyton was telling him about what to work on, and he's just playing at an unbelievably high level. So I think that Kenny Pickett has had an excellent season. Clemson may not be nationally respected as a whole, but their defense certainly is. So this would be a huge statement if he's able to put up some big numbers against a really good Clemson Tigers defense.
And you mentioned Clemson, Roddy, the defense still great, but offensively, I mean, what is going on? What do you see when you watch Clemson on offense, and why have they struggled so bad?
I know that we have a time limit on this interview, so I'll keep it as short as I can. First off, their offensive line has not played all that well. Secondly, their receivers have not played all that well, although they're starting to play better. Thirdly, because the offensive line hasn't played well, the running backs haven't been able to get off. And then DJ Uiagalelei has looked like his confidence is shaken. And when you have an offense that's trying to come together and figure out who they are, you need some leadership to take the reins. And Tony Elliott said this week that there's not a lot of vocal leaders there. They're trying to figure out how to operate on offense without the vocal leadership, without being able to do the stuff that they've done in the past. So I think it's all those things coming together at once. It's sort of a new look staff. It's on the back end with Tyler Grisham in his second year, CJ Spiller in his first year, Tony Elliott taking over in the tight ends room. You've got a new quarterback, you've got new running backs, you've got an offensive line that's not as talented as some that they've had there, and certainly not as talented as the Clemson peers across the country. And then a wide receiver room that's kind of become frustrated because of all of that. So it's a mixture that gets you there. It's not just one thing.
What's going on this year in the ACC? As you mentioned, Clemson isn't playing well. North Carolina isn't playing well. I mean, De'Aaron King is hurt again. Wake, Pitt, NC State, they seem to be playing a lot better. What is your take on the ACC as a whole, especially when we used to it being a certain way, right? And when it's not, and we got to take, we got to look at more teams that's not usually at the forefront. It seems like the national narrative is, well, Clemson isn't good, so the ACC is down as a whole.
I kind of have this theory, Ben, that the ACC is exactly like it is every year, other than the fact that Clemson isn't in the national narrative. Like, behind Clemson, this is kind of how it goes in the league. Like, you have a team that pops up, Wake Forest ends up 7-1, and then they struggle in November, or Pitt, has a tough loss, and then down the stretch they falter. Or NC State a few years ago drops a couple of games that they shouldn't have, but they're kind of hanging out in that mid-teens range. Even last year, outside of Clemson and North Carolina, Clemson and Notre Dame, you had Miami and North Carolina hanging out there, kind of in the teens, able to climb up. So I don't think the ACC is all that different than it is on a year-to-year basis. The only difference is at the very top, Clemson isn't in that college football playoff conversation. Wake Forest looks more legit. Pitt looks more legit than we've seen in the past. But if we had Clemson undefeated and number 2 in the country, we'd be thinking, oh, it's another normal year in the ACC, or has the ACC gotten better? Clemson's the main difference, in my opinion.
You talk about those teams, Wake Forest, NC State, some of those teams. How good are those teams that if a couple of those teams finish the regular season with one loss, go to an ACC championship game with just one loss, would they be in a national title discussion, or just the resume is not going to stack up?
I'll answer the second question first. No ACC team that ends up with one loss is going to be in a national title discussion. You look at the teams that can. NC State, sure, they'll get up there if they were to end up with one loss ACC champion, but they lost to the 7th best team in the SEC West, and that's Mississippi State. So that's not going to get you there. Pitt could do it, but you've lost to Western Michigan, who knows where they're going to end up in the MAC this year. So ultimately, and then Wake Forest, like, they would have a loss in the league, and then the question's going to be asked, who's Wake Forest's best win? So there's going to be a lot of questions about those teams. Now, those teams are still really good teams. Like, those teams could be top 10 teams. They're just not going to be top 4 teams at the end of the season. So I think that as you get down the line, a lot of teams have stuff in front of them. Like, NC State still has Wake Forest to play. Pitt still got Clemson, obviously, and then most of the Coastal to play. Wake Forest still has Boston College, Clemson, NC State to play in a non-conference game against North Carolina. So there's a lot of ball still to play, but I don't think you're going to get an ACC team in the national discussion.
Taking it a step further, though, because we've talked about this on the show, Wake Forest, I know they have a tough game against Army, Roddy, coming up this weekend, but let's say, hypothetically, Wake Forest goes undefeated, wins the ACC. Is an undefeated Wake Forest in the college football playoff?
It'd be a great test case. It really would be. I've been sort of preaching to Pac-12 teams for years, just, not to schedule hard non-conference games, try and go undefeated and see what happens, and basically dare the committee to leave you out. I don't think there is any circumstance that an undefeated Power 5 champion gets left out. I just don't see that happening. I think the system breaks in a way that is really going to disrupt college football. We're already talking about expansion. If an undefeated Power 5 champion gets left out, then there's no more discussion about expansion. It's like, no, we're expanding next year because that can't happen. Like, what is the point of playing a Power 5 schedule if it doesn't matter the strength of the league, if you go undefeated and you don't get in? So, yeah, I think if Wake Forest goes undefeated, they should be in the top 4 because you run through one of the leagues that we've anointed as good enough to get you in the college football playoff.
And Roddy, I mean, I'm trying to preface this question where I am not calling for the firing of Manny Diaz by no stretch of the imagination. But when you think about Miami as a whole, as a program, and Manny Diaz, the head coach, obviously he's the guy now. But why is it so hard for them to find the guy to help get them back to not necessarily where they used to be, but get them back to just being nationally relevant on a consistent level?
Well, Ben, you're like the only person not calling for the firing of Manny Diaz at this point. I think the reason that it's so hard is Miami as a whole. Number one, they were way behind when it came to facilities. Them and Florida State kind of had a similar through line there of thinking that their tradition and their access to talent would overcome their lack of facilities. But that's just not the case. Like, the best recruiting team in South Florida has been Alabama, and they've got facilities and they've got NFL track record that Miami doesn't have. So you got to have the facilities at least, because if you don't have either, guys aren't going to stay home. And the world changed on Miami in a way that I don't think fans really appreciate. Number one, like, back in those days, guys didn't take visits other places. Like, if you were from South Florida, you visited Miami, Florida State. That's about it. You didn't go to Alabama. You didn't go to Georgia. You didn't go to Clemson. It just wasn't in the realm of possibility. You didn't go to Nebraska. It wasn't in the realm of possibility that you would do that. So you stayed in South Florida. Now that's not the case. And number two, I think there needs to be a recognition from Miami fans. You're not close. Like, you're just not. And getting close takes time. Look at what Clemson did. You are much more like Clemson when Dabo Swinney first took over than you are like Alabama when Nick Saban first took over. So the recognition that it's going to take time, I think, needs to be there. You can't keep firing coaches. Like, Mark Richt obviously left, but you can't keep going through the turnover that they're going through, that they've been through the past few seasons with Manny Diaz, the coordinator turnover, Obviously, him coming in after Mark Richt. So they're far away. They have to recognize that. I don't know if Manny Diaz is the right guy or not, but either way, whoever they give it the job to next, if it's not Manny Diaz, needs a lot of time. It's not a 2 or 3 year thing to have them back to national relevance.
Roddy Jones joining us, ACC Network. And Roddy, finally, just kind of a big picture question. You talked about expansion of the playoffs, and in the last day or two, college football expansion has been all in the news. Might, when the dust settled, we be looking at a G5 and a P5 and a G4 when it's all said and done?
Yeah, well, Conference USA is going to have to scramble because I would say their best teams are this problem on the phone right now with Marshall, Louisiana Tech, maybe a couple others to see if those schools want to join to form the best P5 conference around. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see. You know, the moves that the American made were interesting. I don't know if it didn't move the needle for them very much from a football standpoint, but I guess from a geographical standpoint, they've solidified the state of Texas, keeping the Mountain West out. So we'll see. We'll see what moves Conference USA has. We'll see what moves the Sun Belt has. But it's been wild, man. All of the movement that has happened over the course of the last 4 or 5 months was certainly unanticipated. But it all started when the couple of behemoths decided to go to the SEC. I do think it was informative, though, with 2023 being when those teams are going to move to the the American. It kind of informs you on when Texas and Oklahoma may join the SEC.
Landscape of college football. Roddy Jones, our guest here on 3 and Out. Roddy, always appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Roddy Jones joining us here on 3 and Out. And as we talked about, a big weekend for the ACC and just kind of looking at the ever-developing landscape of college football. As you said, the Conference USA lost a bunch today. Can they keep some of their members from jumping ship to the Sun Belt? A lot of talk about the Sun Belt being interested in at least 2 of what's left in Conference USA. And if you lose those 2, who's left at that point? BJ, can you, as he said, cobble together enough teams, probably having to promote a number of FCS programs that want to step up at that point to keep that conference as a viable entity?
Yeah, I do think you're going to see, and the name that's been mentioned is James Madison, but I do think you're going to see somebody from the FCS level, which of course is Division I and everything, and football is subdivided. But I think you will see James Madison and maybe another name be targeted as a possible program to move up. And James Madison has been a consistent football power at the FCS level, but some uncertainty. And I do think if you are the ACC, you clearly feel strongly about a confident future, going out and adding new teams and spreading your footprint. And as Roddy said, adding more viability in the state of Texas. If you're the Sun Belt, I think you're looking around saying, we need to add a few more teams. If you're Conference USA, I don't know what you do, because the number of teams you just lost is just so considerable, so significant. How do you replace a half dozen teams? And even if you can get your current members to stay, you're talking about basically a full division of football teams you would have to bring in to remain solvent, I guess, in some respects. So I do think the Sun Belt is well positioned. I think a jump from 10 teams to maybe it's 12, maybe it's 14 seems logical, seems like it's on the horizon. Again, Keith Gill's done a great job. Carl Benson before him. I think this is a league that's going to be around a long time. The 2-division format makes sense. You do have kind of a specific geographical area where you've put your focus, and programs like Appalachian State, like Georgia Southern, like Louisiana, like Coastal Carolina have helped the league's brand. And I think you're going to see some new teams come to the Sun Belt, definitely.
It just makes it a whole lot easier when you got momentum with the Sun Belt. And like you mentioned, BJ, you got the usual suspects up, App, Louisiana, Georgia Southern. Now you add Coastal Carolina. So when you go into Southern Miss and Marshall, of course they want to be a part of that. Conference USA is going to really, really have to decide, do they want to keep the tradition of having the Conference USA by promoting FCS teams? And if not, it is going to be a uphill battle, Kevin, because the teams that you're going to knowing, listen, man, y'all trying to help us, y'all boosting the reputation of our programs, or y'all just trying to keep this entire conference afloat? We will see what happens, but hey, man, sometimes you sometimes you get rich, and sometimes you gamble yourself out of all your money. We will see what happens with Conference USA.
And again, the landscape changing by the day. It seems like as to what could finally shape up when this is all said and done. But it looks like next move would be on the Sun Belt or Conference USA. It looks like the Sun Belt is actively at least pursuing at least 2 to come in and join their conference. We got more to come here on 3 and Out. Braves back at it tonight. We'll have full coverage starting for you at 6:50. Game number 5. Braves could wrap it up with a win tonight. They lead the series 3-1. Dodgers have put out their starter. They are going to start. Why his name just slipped my mind? Joe Kelly tonight in part of that bullpen game there as well. We'll talk to Bill Shanks all about the Braves and their chance to finish it up potentially tonight when we return. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Braves 1 win away from going to the World Series. Our next guest covered the Braves for a long time, and you can hear him every day on Sports Radio 93.1 in Macon, 98.3 in Warner Robins, host of the Bill Shanks Show. Bill Shanks joins us here on 3 and Out. Bill, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you for having me on.
I appreciate you coming on. I know a lot of the Braves fans, as you saw after Tuesday night going up, woe is us. Here goes that Atlanta curse thing, which I think is, nonsense most of the time. And again, the Braves bounced back with an A-plus game offensively and on the mound.
It was a great win. It was tremendous to have Jesse Chavez go out there and give him a good inning, and Drew Smiley do his job, and the bats to come alive. At some point, you knew it was going to be home run derby, and it was last night, and it was a great win. And to answer what happened on Tuesday with a performance like that, you just you gotta give them a lot of credit. I mean, I'm not surprised. This team, this team's been through so much, Kevin. It's not like one bad inning where Luke Jackson was tipping his pitches is anything close to what they've been through all year long. They've been through worse. So I think they are primed and ready to win a pennant tonight, and I think they're going to do it.
Bill, talk about Eddie Rosario, the history he's made this postseason, and just how valuable he's been for Atlanta.
Well, they wanted Rosario last winter. They thought they had him. They had recruited him very, very, very hard, and thought he was coming to Atlanta because they wanted another center fielder to join Christian Pache. They wanted kind of a veteran to be there with Pache. And he instead went to Cleveland. They were shocked by that. So they really liked this guy. They even the due diligence they had before the trade, they talked to a lot of people who were with him in Minnesota, and he was just a very good teammate and a clutch performer. So he's played great, and it's just yet another testament to the work that Alex Anthopoulos did by getting the outfielders he got there at the trade deadline. But what an unbelievable couple of days he's had. It's great to see. And, there are a lot of Braves players who are kind of playoff heroes like Mike Devereaux and Sid Bream and Francisco Cabrera. And even though I think they'd love to bring Rosario back, I think at the least he's going to be back on Alumni Day for many years to come after what he's done in this series, after he wins the MVP award tonight.
Rosario, Freeman, Albie, Swanson, Riley, just different guys, seemingly every night. Talk about a little bit more about, the chemistry of this team and that lineup in particular.
Well, they obviously have gone through so much, like I said, and to have Ronald Acuna go down 2 days before the All-Star break was incredible. It's almost like those players who were left got together and said, we're not going to let this ruin our season. And I hope they did, because it'd be a lot better to the story. But they just have never given up. I mean, they had 2.5 weeks where they won game, lost game, couldn't win or lose consecutive games. They were as mediocre as you can be. They were 5 games back on the trade deadline. And these players, they never gave up. And I think the steps they've taken to get to this game tonight and this series with losing the Dodgers in the first round in 2018 and losing that horrible Game 5 the Cardinals in 2019 and going all the way to Game 7 last year against the Dodgers. I think all that has prepared this core group to be where they are now and to overcome an unbelievable amount of obstacles for this season. So I think that's what's mattered, and it's gotten this group on the cusp of a pennant.
Bill, as you look at this Braves team, and I've asked a number of folks throughout the season about this, so I'll ask you as somebody who's followed the Braves and covered the Braves for a number of years, but this to me, maybe top to bottom, might be the most talented Braves team I've seen. And it seems like they play that way with a lot of confidence. Is that overstating it, or is that, top to bottom on this roster, is this maybe one of the best Braves teams we've ever seen put together?
Oh, yeah, I think so, especially with the way the outfield is reconstructed. But anytime you can say you've got the best, rotation, bullpen, catcher, and they've got the best infield, Kevin. They've got the best group of 4 players in the infield in baseball right now with Freeman, Albies, Swanson, and Riley, and I don't think it's even close. And so when you can say something like that, you've got a leg up. And, they got the best infield in the game and a rebuilt outfield and a much improved starting rotation from last year. I mean, think about it. Last year when they were up 3-1, they had to go with A.J. Minter in Game 5 to try to win the pennant. Tonight it'll be Max Fried, and then if they lose tonight, it'll be Ian Anderson. And if they lose on Saturday, it'll be Charlie Morton. So yeah, 1 through 26, this team is very good. It's very deep. You know, I mean, my God, two hours before the game the other day, they go and lose, or last week rather, they go and lose Jorge Soler, and he's been great for them, and yet it hadn't missed a beat. I mean, look what Jock's done. Look what the outfield's done. So it's a deep team. It's a solid team, a solid roster. That bullpen has just been, that's elevated to another. I mean, I put some numbers on my Twitter account of what Minter and Matzik have done. Will Smith. I mean, those three lefty relievers in that bullpen, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. You'll have to get them off Twitter. I mean, they've been unbelievable in this since at least September the 1st. They've been incredible. And that's what you have to have. You have to play at a high level to get to where the Braves are right now. They've done it.
And Bill, here in the postseason, the Braves have a 2.57 team ERA. I mean, is that the key to winning championships, being that dominant on the mound?
Absolutely. You've got to do that. You've got to, I mean, pitching wins championships. Last year, the Braves got knocked out probably more so because their offense doing poorly, but it's because of how good the Dodgers pitching staff was. And this year, the shoe's been on the other foot. The Braves pitching has just been unbelievable. I mean, those numbers again for Matt. I think Matzik's ERA is like 1.00. I think Minter's less than 1. I mean, it's incredible. And for all the angst that we've had about Will Smith, the people wanting to put Will Smith out of the closer's role, my God, he's been unbelievable. And that's because Brian Sticker expressed his faith in Will Smith and never gave up on Will Smith. And that's a huge part of this story. So yeah, the pitching, and I mean, my gosh, you think about all they went through last year. I mean, last year when they started even at the 60-game schedule, their rotation was thought to be Cole Hamels, Mike Soroka, Mike Boltonevich, Max Fried, and Sean Newcomb. And look what happened to that rotation. And this year, even still having Charlie Morton, Max Fried, and Ian Anderson, it's just night and day different, and that's what's got them ready to go for tonight.
Bill, what do you attribute this chemistry with the front? I mean, with Alex Anthopoulos and Brian Snitker. Obviously, when Alex Anthopoulos first got to the Braves, he inherited a front office that was in ruins. And you see, and since he's been to him and Snit, yeah, I mean, I don't know how they are as far as like dealing with each other, but have you ever seen this much chemistry this fast from a new GM and a guy that's been with an organization well over 40 years?
Yeah, Ben, I saw it in 1991 when John Charles joined the Braves and Bobby Cox was the manager. It's a very similar story. John came in from Kansas City, and he had been a successful GM of the Royals, and Bobby Cox had been the GM with Atlanta, been the manager for the last part of the 1990 season, had been with the Braves, except for the 4 years he was in Toronto. He'd been with the Braves since 1978, and those two worked perfectly together, had a perfect relationship. And I think Alex Anthopoulos and Brian Snitker have the same type of relationship. There's a respect factor there. There's a belief and faith in Brian Snitker's part that if they need something, that Alex Anthopoulos is going to do everything he can to get that help. He did that at the trade deadline. I mean, he made 6 individual trades between the All-Star break and July 30th at 4 o'clock. 6. There have been years the Braves haven't made 6 trades in the entire year in their history, and they made 6 trades in 2 weeks because Alex Anthopoulos thought that the run differential for Atlanta and for New York gave the Braves a chance. And he was right. And they were 5 games out that night when they made those trades on the trade deadline day on July 30th. But Brian Snitker is at the forefront of this because of he's the conductor. He's the leader. He's the one that keeps everything even keel. There was no panic after what happened on Tuesday night. There was no woe is me. There wasn't a dumb fan base because everybody bringing up crap from, the Atlanta sports history that meant nothing. I mean, the Atlanta Braves losing on Tuesday had nothing to do with 28-3 in Houston, for crying out loud. And some people were putting that together, and they were ignorant to do that. Brian Snitker keeps his team at an even keel because he knows it's one day at a time. And look, it's October 21st. They've been going at it since February 14th, and it's a grind. It's a daily grind. It's hard, and he leads them through that in a very calm way, in a perfect way. And I think that's why they're going to win a pennant and have a great chance to win it all this year.
Bill Shanks joining us here on 3 and Out. And Bill, finally, game 5 tonight. If you're Brian Snicker, do you look at this as, and I know you said you think they're going to finish it, but given that the Dodgers are going bullpen game, do you kind of manage this like a pseudo game 6, game 7, knowing that even wounded, the Dodgers still have Scherzer and Buehler in their arsenal for game 6 and 7? Are you going after it as best you can with what you got tonight to try to finish it now?
Yeah, and I think a key for that, Kevin, is the fact that if, the Braves could bring Max Fried in an emergency in Game 7, not as a starter, but, if they had to save their season and needed to bring Max in, that's not out of the question. They don't want to do that, of course. But if they win tonight or on Saturday, Max Fried won't pitch again until next Wednesday. So he's going to have a full rest, and therefore I think they're going to be able to push him a little bit tonight. If that pitch count's at a respectable level and if he's pitching well, I think they'll push him because, A.J. Minter went 2 innings last night. Tyler Matzik, I know he's got a rubber arm, but you just have to wonder how the heck long this can go. And the only other lefty they've got is Drew Smiley, who pitched last night, and then Dylan Lee, who, has barely pitched at all in the big leagues. I would think because of that ability to have Max on longer rest, they'll push him a little bit tonight. I think we'll see Luke Jackson tonight, and I think we'll see Will Smith tonight, and hopefully they can finish it out. But, look, I know people are saying, well, it'd be great to finish it at home. No, sir. It'd be great to finish it on that field right there and let those people, especially Bill Plaschke, that moron columnist for the L.A. Times, watch his team lose on that field to the Atlanta Braves.
Absolutely. We'll all pitch in, get him an all-star special when it's all said and done. Bill Shanks, our guest here on 3 and Out. Bill, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bill Shanks, our guest here on 3 and Out. We're coming back with more all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here on this Thursday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Braves with a chance to clinch it tonight. And as you heard Bill Shanks say, don't let it go back to Atlanta. Finish it now. Finish it now. Yeah, we don't like Bill Plaschke talking about our sterile shopping malls around the Truist Park. No, finish it tonight. Don't even let Walker Buehler or Max Scherzer come back into the equation.
Yeah, get it done. And I understand the intrigue, the appeal of obviously winning a pennant on your home field. But come on, you have it set up for you. You had a fantastic game yesterday. And let's not forget, 4 runs in the 9th inning. I think that carries over in the top of the 9th. That carries over. And you're talking about an energy, you're talking about a confidence, you're talking about a belief, and they have a bullpen game going. What? Kelly is starting, right? Right,
yeah,
Kevin?
Kelly.
Yeah, and you have Max Fried. Get it done.
I got on a wristband right now. The wristband says myth killer, gonna kill a lot of myths tonight. I don't want to hear that nonsense. I know we already went through it with I was able to score a touchdown because of the curse. This place is cursed. Well, guess what? If that's how I scored it, it's fine. Boss Bailey, Thomas Davis, it wasn't me. It was the curse. I will take it. It was the curse of Georgia's past. I don't know. But well, I keep on saying when the Braves get a chance to go out there and make it happen tonight, Kevin. No. And the thing about it is, Kevin, listen, get to exercise some demons tonight. Getting over that. Now, listen, the hardest yard to get in football is 1 yard. The hardest outs to get for this Dodgers team against it's the last 6, not the last 3. Find a way to get it done. I know it's been a lot to ride home about, but Kevin, what is it going to take to get that game 4 going back to the ATL shout to Yale?
Yep.
Getting ready for the World Series.
Well, I'd feel better if they jumped on them early. If you were able to do, even if you don't score runs, even if you come out against Joe Kelly and you get 2 runners on in the first inning, the fact you walk up there with the confidence, like, all right, we can hit this guy. And I think the Braves have that confidence against this entire Dodgers team, maybe except for Kenley Jansen. They've had success getting runners on base. And for a team like the Braves, you keep putting it in play and good things are going to happen. And I think we saw that last night. Get runners on, keep getting runners on. And even if you don't score, go up there with the confidence that you can make some stuff happen at the plate and you're going to score runs. Like, I don't know that the Dodgers with the bullpen game think they're going to win this one 2-0 tonight. Right. I mean, and again, I don't think if you're the Braves, you go out there saying, oh man, you go up there with confidence and try to end this thing. You have Max Fried against their bullpen. Let him go out there and pitch his ball game and know, hey, as an offense, we're going to score runs. We'll be all right. And again, I think that's a good approach to have. And you want, again, try to end it tonight so it doesn't go back to Atlanta. Rest up and get ready for whoever it is, Astros, Red Sox, doesn't matter. It's going to be a tremendous World Series. But again, the Braves, if I'm Brian Snitker, not to the extreme, but I'm pretty much wanting to manage this like it's a Game 7. I'm not going to go all out and say, well, everybody on the roster gets to play and pitch. But I am managing this like, look, let's try everything in our power to just end it now and not save a guy for another day. You have an off day tomorrow. Even if you have an off day tomorrow, treat this like Game 7 and go try to finish it.
I'd like to see, to that point, Kevin, the Braves be proactive. I think sometimes the right approach at the plate is to wait and kind of make the pitch come to you, wait for the pitch you want to see. I'd like to see some early count swings and maybe try to ambush an early fastball. I'd like to see send a runner or 2, be proactive, try to put even more pressure on the Dodgers. Ben, you talked about that. The Dodgers are feeling it. And if I'm Atlanta, I'm trying to come out and add to that and maximize that and capitalize on that. So I think the Braves go after Kelly early, whoever else comes in. I think Max Fried, those strikes, don't give them free passes. Don't give them any help. And I got a really good feeling, which is scary in its own right. Yeah. But I think Atlanta's in a great spot. It's all laid out for you. Max Fried against the bullpen. What you did yesterday was incredible. Let's get it done tonight.
Apply pressure. That's it. Every inning, just apply pressure, dude. When you look at what the Braves did last night, they didn't think that, oh, man, we've seen this story before of being up, going into the latter innings, and this, how dangerous this Dodgers team is. Each inning, man, try your best to just continue to apply pressure defensively and offensively because, Kevin, that seems to be their way forward. I mean, and BJ, I know you say starting pitching wins in the postseason. Well, I think going tonight, the Braves got a better pitcher on the mound than the Dodgers, and we'll see how this lineup can do their part.
I agree. Put pressure on them early. Make the Dodgers play catch up and go out there and play with some confidence. Jorge Soler back on the roster tonight off the COVID list. He replaces Christian Pache. No Justin Turner. Albert Pujols is going to start tonight for the Dodgers at first base, moves Bellinger to the outfield. Appreciate Bill Shanks joining us, Roddy Jones for joining us here on the show, George Reister and Gaurav Vidak here on 3 and Out. We will see you tomorrow, however it goes. Hopefully we're talking World Series. If not, we'll be talking about Game 5 coming up on Saturday back in Atlanta. Right here, Game 6, back in Atlanta, right here on 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio, at Pigskin Radio. Check us out online at espncoastal.com.